wagon wheel splintered with a crack that echoed across the empty Kansas prairie, sending Zaria tumbling into the dust. Her ceramic jars shattered around her, precious herbs and tinctures seeping into the thirsty earth. Years of carefully gathered remedies lost in an instant. She pressed her palms against the ground, feeling the roughness of the dirt, the cruel heat of the afternoon sun burning through her thin cotton blouse. Her grandmother's voice whispered through memory. A Romani woman stands alone. She falls alone. 3 weeks since the cholera had taken the old woman, leaving Zaria with nothing but a broken wagon, a lame horse, and the knowledge that carried in her scarred hands. The townspeople in the last settlement had made their hatred clear. Rocks thrown, threats shouted, the marshal's cold decree to move on by sunrise. Gypsies weren't welcome. Healers who whispered in strange tongues and mixed potions were even less so. If you're enjoying this tale of the Wild West, please take a moment to subscribe to the From Wild West channel and give this video a like. It truly means everything to us and motivates us to bring you more quality stories of courage, romance, and redemption from the frontier. Thank you for being part of this journey. Zaria's fingers found the silver chain around her neck, the last thing of value she possessed. Her grandmother's pendant, etched with protective symbols, warm against her skin. She could trade it in the next town for bread, maybe passage on a stage. The thought made her throat tighten. It would be like selling her own soul. The thunder of hooves made her look up, squinting against the sun. A rider approached fast, his silhouette dark against the blazing sky. Zaria's heart hammered. Alone, vulnerable, with nowhere to run. She'd heard the stories of what men did to Romani women they found unprotected on the plains. The horse slowed, and the rider dismounted in one fluid motion. He was tall, powerfully built, with shoulders that spoke of years of hard labor. His face was weathered like saddle leather, a jagged scar running from his left eyebrow to his cheekbone. Dust coated his dark hair, and his eyes, storm gray, intense, swept over her with an assessment that felt more like concern than threat. "You hurt?" His voice was deep, roughened by prairie wind and sparse use. Zaria's hand instinctively went to the pendant, ready to offer it, to beg. "I need!" Her accent thickened with desperation, the rolling consonants of her grandmother's Romani tongue mixing with her English. "Please, I can pay. This silver, it is worth." "Keep your silver." He cut her off, not unkindly, crouching beside the broken wagon. His hands, large, calloused, with rope-burn scars across the knuckles, examined the damage with practiced efficiency. "Axles cracked clean through. This wagon's not going anywhere." "Then I will walk." Pride straightened her spine, even as hopelessness threatened to buckle her knees. He stood, studying her with those unsettling gray eyes that seemed to see too much. "Walk where?" "Nearest town's 20 miles east, and they don't take kindly to—" He paused, choosing words carefully. "Strangers." "I know what they do not take kindly to." Bitterness sharpened. Something shifted in his expression. A flicker of understanding, maybe shared experience with rejection. "Name's Cole Hartley. I run a ranch 15 miles north of here. I need someone who knows medicine. Lost my foreman last week to a rattlesnake bite because I didn't know what the hell I was doing." He gestured to her scattered jars, the dried herbs crushed into the dirt. "Looks like you might." Zaria's breath caught. "You would trust a Romani woman?" "I trust someone who knows how to heal." He extended his hand. You're not property. You're a person with skills I need. You work, you earn your keep, you stay as long as you choose. Fair trade. She stared at his outstretched hand, scarred and honest, offering something no one had offered in years. Respect. Her fingers trembled as she placed them in his palm. His grip was firm, warm, steadying. "Zarya," she whispered. "My name is Zarya." "Well, Zarya, let's get you and what's salvageable loaded up. Storm's coming." The Hartley Ranch sprawled across a valley where the prairie met rolling hills, a modest but sturdy house built from local timber and stone. Corrals held a dozen horses, a barn stood solid against the wind, and everywhere spoke of hard work and careful management. Cole's few ranch hands, 4 weathered cowboys who'd clearly been with him for years, barely blinked at Zarya's arrival, though she caught curious glances at her colorful scarves and the protective charms braided into her dark hair. "Bunkhouse has an empty room," Cole said, leading her past the main house. "Door locks from inside. Nobody bothers you, and if they do, you tell me." The small room was sparse but clean. A bed with a quilt, a washstand, a window overlooking the hills. Luxury compared to the wagon she'd been sleeping in for weeks. Zarya set down her salvaged medicine bag, her hands still shaking with the unreality of safety. Why? The question escaped before she could stop it. "Why help me?" Leaned against the doorframe, his broad shoulders nearly filling it. The fading sunlight caught the silver threading his temples, made the scar on his face stand out in sharp relief. "My mother was Kiowa. Died when I was 12, but not before teaching me that people who heal deserve respect, no matter what language they pray in." His voice carried old pain, carefully buried. "And I've been where you are, alone with folks deciding what you're worth before you open your mouth." Before Zarya could respond, one of the ranch hands shouted from outside, "Boss, it's Miguel. Horse threw him bad." Cole was moving instantly, Zarya close behind. In the corral, a young cowboy lay writhing in the dust, his leg bent at a sickening angle. The other men stood helpless, fear written across their faces. Zarya dropped to her knees beside the injured man, her hands moving with practiced certainty even as her heart raced. "Hold him steady. I must set the bone before swelling makes it impossible." "It's gonna hurt like hell," Cole warned Miguel, positioning himself to grip the young man's shoulders. "Then make it hurt quick," Miguel gasped, sweat pouring down his face. Zarya met Cole's eyes across the injured cowboy's body. Something passed between them. Trust, recognition of shared purpose. She nodded once. The bone setting was brutal and necessary. Miguel's screams cut through the evening air, but Zarya's hands never wavered. She'd learned from her grandmother that mercy sometimes wore the face of pain. Cole held the young man steady with a strength that was protective rather than restraining, murmuring reassurances in both English and what sounded like Kiowa. When it was done, Zarya bound the leg with splints and strips torn from her own petticoat, then mixed a tincture from her precious remaining herbs. For the pain and to prevent fever. He must not move this leg for 6 weeks, maybe 8. "You heard the lady," Cole told his men. "Miguel's on bed rest. We work around it." As the others carried Miguel to the bunkhouse, Cole turned to Zarya. In the gathering dusk, his face was half-shadowed, making him look almost dangerous, except for his eyes, which held something like wonder. "That was remarkable," he said quietly. "That was necessity." She busied herself cleaning her hands in the horse trough, needing to do something with the sudden energy crackling between them. "Your mother, she taught you healing?" "Some, not enough," He stood too close, near enough that she could smell leather and sage and something uniquely him. She used to say that true medicine treats the wound you can see and the one you can't. Zarya's hands stilled in the water. The gypsy woman healer treated his wounds, yet every night he healed the pain she never spoke of. The words her grandmother had whispered in fevered delirium suddenly made terrible, prophetic sense. "What wounds do you carry, Cole Hartley?" she asked, surprising herself with her boldness. His jaw tightened, the kind that don't show on the outside. He stepped back, breaking the moment. "I'll have one of the men bring you supper. You must be exhausted." But as he walked away, Zarya saw the hitch in his stride, the way his left hand pressed briefly to his ribs. A healer's eyes missed nothing. The nightmare came as it always did. Her father's drunken rage, her mother's screams. The night everything shattered. Zarya woke gasping, her own cry strangled in her throat. Moonlight streamed through the window, painting the unfamiliar room in silver and shadow. A knock, soft and hesitant. "Zarya, you all right in there?" Cole's voice, rough with sleep and concern. She stumbled to the door, opening it just enough to see him standing in the hallway, shirtless, suspenders hanging loose over rough work pants. The moonlight revealed what his clothes had hidden: a map of scars across his torso and fresh bruising along his left ribs, mottled purple and angry red. "You are hurt. The healer in her overrode everything else. Why did you not tell me?" "It's nothing. Just a disagreement with a fence post yesterday." He tried to smile, but pain flickered across his face. "Heard you cry out. Thought maybe—" "Come." She opened the door wider, professional necessity steadying her voice. "I will look at it." He hesitated at the threshold, awareness of impropriety warring with obvious discomfort. It's the middle of the night. People will talk. People always talk about what they do not understand. Zarya held his gaze. "I am a healer. You are injured. Nothing else matters." Cole entered slowly, and she lit the lamp with hands that trembled only slightly. In the warm glow, the damage looked worse. The bruising spread across his entire left side, and when she gently pressed her fingers to his ribs, he hissed through his teeth. "Go slow," he managed. "It hurts." "I know. I am sorry." Her fingers explored carefully, reading the story his body told. 2 ribs cracked, maybe 3. You have been working anyway, yes? Making it worse? Ranch doesn't run itself. The ranch will survive. You must rest, or these will break completely and puncture a lung. She reached for her medicine bag, mixing a salve with practiced efficiency. "Remove your pants." His eyebrows shot up. "Excuse me?" Despite everything, she almost smiled. "The bruising goes to your hip. I must treat all of it, or infection may set in." When he still hesitated, she added softly, "I have seen men's bodies before, Cole Hartley. There is no shame in needing care." He complied slowly, and Zarya focused on the medicine. Not the way lamplight played across the muscled planes of his body, not the vulnerability in his posture. Her hands warmed the salve before applying it, spreading it gently across the damaged flesh. "Your hands," Cole said quietly. "They're scarred. Burns?" Zarya's fingers paused. The silvered skin across her palms and wrists rarely drew comment. Most people averted their eyes from Romani women anyway. "My father, when I was 15, he tried to beat the healing gift from me. Said it made me unmarriageable, too proud." The old pain surfaced, sharp as yesterday. "I put my hands in the cook fire to prove I would rather burn than stop helping people." My grandmother took me away that night. Cole's hand covered hers, stopping the application of salve. His touch was gentle, reverent. "I see a woman worth saving," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Hell, I see a woman who saved herself." Tears burned behind Zaria's eyes. "Your mother, she would have liked that saying. She would have liked you." His thumb traced the scars on her palm. "She used to tell me that healers carry everyone's pain but their own, that we owe them something precious in return." "What?" Zaria whispered. "Witness, recognition, someone to carry theirs for a while." The air between them felt charged, electric. Zaria's breath came shallow, her heart hammering against her ribs. She'd spent years building walls, protecting herself from attachment, from the vulnerability that came with caring. But this man, this scarred, gentle, strong man, was dismantling her defenses with simple honesty. "I should finish," she managed, returning to her work with unsteady hands. When she was done, Cole caught her wrist gently. "The nightmare, what haunts you?" "The same thing that haunts everyone," she said, attempting deflection. "Memory." Zaria. Her name on his lips sounded like prayer. "True medicine treats the wound you can see, and the one you can't. You're bleeding inside. I can see it." The walls cracked. "I dream of failing, of hands that cannot heal fast enough, knowledge that is not enough, of watching people die because I am just a gypsy woman and nobody will listen." The confession poured out like lanced poison. "My grandmother, I could not save her. The cholera took her in 3 days, and all my skill, all my herbs, none of it mattered. That wasn't failure." Cole's voice was fierce. That was love doing everything it could against impossible odds. "How do you know?" "Because I watched my mother die the same way, coughing blood, wasting away, and nothing I did helped. I was 12 years old and helpless." His gray eyes held ghosts. "Took me 20 years to understand that loving someone means staying, even when you can't fix them, especially then." Zaria felt something break open inside her, the locked box where she'd stored her grief, her guilt, her bone-deep exhaustion. A sob escaped, then another, and suddenly Cole's arms were around her, strong and careful, holding her together while she fell apart. "I've got you," he murmured against her hair. "You're safe here. You're safe." She cried until she had nothing left, until the lamp burned low and the moon tracked across the sky. Cole held her through all of it, his hands rubbing slow circles on her back, his heartbeat steady beneath her cheek. When the storm passed, she found herself curled against his chest, his warmth seeping into her bones. "I should go," he said, but didn't move. "Stay," Zaria whispered, "just until I fall asleep." "Together," Cole said, the word a promise. He stretched out on the narrow bed beside her, careful of his injured ribs, and Zaria tucked herself against his side. His arm came around her shoulders, protective and present. For the first time in months, she felt the tight coil of vigilance loosen. "Cole," she murmured, drowsiness pulling her under. "Yeah? Thank you for seeing me." His lips brushed her forehead, feather light. "I'll die before I hurt you, Zaria." That's a promise. She believed him, and believing felt like the first step toward healing her own wounds. The days fell into a rhythm that felt dangerously like belonging. Zaria tended to the ranch hand's various ailments, rope burns, saddle sores, a nasty gash from barbed wire. She mixed tonics for the horses, treated a milk cow's infected udder, and taught Cole's men which prairie plants could save a life and which would end it. Cole worked alongside her when his ribs allowed, learning her remedies with the intense focus he brought to everything. They fell into an easy partnership. She would point out a plant, he would harvest it carefully, his large hands surprisingly gentle with delicate stems. "This one?" he asked, indicating a cluster of purple flowers. "Echinacea, for infection and fever." Zarya knelt beside him, close enough that their shoulders brushed. "But you must gather it at dawn, when the medicine is strongest. Then we'll come back at dawn." He said it like a promise, like there would be many dawns ahead. The thought should have frightened her. Instead, it sent warmth spreading through her chest. Evenings found them on the porch, as the sun painted the sky in shades of copper and gold. Cole would carve, his knife revealing hidden shapes in wood, while Zarya mended clothes or prepared medicines. The silence between them felt comfortable, punctuated by the sounds of the prairie settling into night. "Tell me about your grandmother," Cole said one evening, his hands stilling on a half-formed horse. Zarya's fingers paused on the shirt she was mending, one of Cole's, the fabric soft from many washings and smelling like him. She was fierce, tiny woman, but she could make grown men tremble with a look. A smile tugged at her lips. She said the secret to healing was listening, to the body, to the spirit, to what people do not say aloud. Smart woman. Cole's knife resumed its steady work. What would she think of this place? She would say. Zarya hesitated, choosing words carefully. She would say that a man who carves beauty in his spare time has a gentle soul, that a man who asks about the dead honors their memory. She met his eyes. She would like you. Cole's hands stilled again. In the fading light, his face was all sharp angles and shadows, the scar on his cheekbones standing out pale against sun-darkened skin. I hope so, because I'm finding it damn hard to imagine this place without you in it. The confession hung between them, weighted with possibility and danger. Zarya's heart hammered. "Cole, boss!" One of the ranch hands, Jack, grizzled and bow-legged, came running from the barn. "Rider coming fast. Looks like trouble." They were on their feet instantly. In the distance, a lone horseman approached at a gallop, his horse lathered with sweat. As he drew closer, Zarya's blood turned to ice. She knew that horse, knew the rider. "Get inside," Cole said, his voice gone hard and flat. "No." Zarya's fingernails bit into her palms. "He comes for me. This is my problem." The rider reined up in a cloud of dust, and Dmitri Ruskin dismounted with predatory grace. He was handsome in a cruel way. Sharp features, cold eyes, expensive clothes that looked absurd on the prairie. He'd been her father's choice for Zarya had refused, and her father had beaten her. She'd run the next day. "Zarya." Dmitri's smile was all teeth. "Your father sends his regards. He says it is time to come home." "I have no home with him." She was proud of how steady her voice sounded. "Leave." "Come now, don't be difficult. Your father forgives your indiscretion. The wedding can still happen." His gaze slid to Cole with obvious disdain. "Unless you've been warming this cowboy's bed, then perhaps you're damaged goods after all." Cole moved faster than Zarya had ever seen, his hand locking around Dmitri's throat, slamming him back against his horse. "Apologize," Cole said, his voice deadly quiet. "Now." Dmitri's hand flashed to a knife at his belt. But Cole twisted his wrist with brutal efficiency, sending the blades spinning into the dirt. The ranch hands materialized from nowhere, forming a silent, threatening semicircle. You touch her again, threaten her again, and I'll make sure you don't walk off this ranch, Cole said. She's under my protection. That means something here. Protection? Dmitri spat blood. You think you can keep her? She's Romani. She'll never belong in your world, and her people will never stop looking for her. Then let them come. Cole's grip tightened, but they'll get the same answer. She stays until she chooses to leave. Her choice, not yours, not her father's. Dimitri's eyes slid to Zarya, calculating. You would give up your heritage for this? Your people? Your blood? The question struck deep. Zarya had been running for so long, she'd almost forgotten what she was running from. Not just her father's violence, but the suffocating weight of tradition, of being owned, of having every choice made for her. My heritage is in my hands, she said, holding up her scarred palms. In the healing knowledge my grandmother gave me, that does not belong to you or my father. She stepped closer to Cole, drawing strength from his solid presence. I choose to stay here. I choose myself. Something ugly twisted Dimitri's face. Your father will not accept this. He will come, and he will bring the clan. Let him. Zarya's voice didn't waver. Tell him his daughter is dead. The frightened girl he tried to break, she does not exist anymore. Dmitri wrenched free from Cole's grip, stumbling toward his horse. You'll regret this, Gadji lover, both of you. He spurred his horse viciously, disappearing into the gathering darkness. The moment he was gone, Zarya's knees buckled. Cole caught her, his arms coming around her like a fortress. She pressed her face to his chest, breathing in his scent, leather and sage and safety. He'll come back, she whispered. My father will come. He is a proud man, and I have shamed him. Then we'll be ready. Cole's hand cupped the back of her head, his fingers threading through her hair. Zarya, look at me. She tilted her face up, finding those storm-gray eyes fixed on her with an intensity that stole her breath. You're not property, he said fiercely. You're not a prize to be won or a debt to be collected. You're a woman with gifts and strength and the right to decide your own damn life. His thumb traced her cheekbone with aching gentleness. And if you choose to stay here, I'll stand between you and anyone who tries to take that choice away. Why? The question emerged, broken. Why risk so much for me? Cole's expression softened, vulnerability breaking through his usual stoic mask. Because somewhere between you setting Miguel's leg and crying in my arms, I started falling in love with you. Because when you look at me, you see past the scars to who I actually am. Because you make this place feel like a home instead of just a ranch. He leaned his forehead against hers. Because the thought of you leaving tears a hole in my chest I don't think would ever heal. Zarya's breath caught. Cole, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. Whatever happens, whatever you decide, that's the truth. But Zarya was already rising on her toes, her hands framing his face, bringing his mouth down to hers. The kiss was tentative at first, a question, an exploration. Then Cole's arms tightened around her, and she melted into him, pouring everything she couldn't say into the press of lips and breath. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Cole rested his forehead against hers again. That was necessary, Zarya finished, like setting a bone or lancing a wound. Sometimes healing requires bold action. His laugh rumbled through his chest. I've never been compared to medicine before. You are medicine. She touched the scar on his face, the raised line she'd come to find beautiful. The gypsy woman healer treated his wounds, yet every night he healed the pain she never spoke of. My grandmother said those words before she died. I thought she was delirious, but now I think she knew. She saw this. Then she was wise, Cole murmured, and I'm grateful. They stood wrapped in each other as the stars emerged, neither willing to break the moment. But reality intruded with Jack's apologetic cough. Boss, we should set watches. If that bastard comes back with friends. Cole's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Double watch rotation. Nobody rides out alone, and somebody teach Zarya to shoot. I know how to shoot, Zarya protested. Every man turned to stare at her. She shrugged. My grandmother said a Romani woman must know 3 things: how to heal, how to read the stars, and how to protect herself. The Gaji world does not love us. We must be ready. Cole's expression held equal parts respect and something darker. Fear for her. Awareness that the skills she'd needed to survive spoke to a harder life than he'd imagined. Show me, he said quietly. Jack fetched a rifle, and Zarya checked it with practiced efficiency, testing the weight, the balance, the action. She loaded it smoothly, sighted down the barrel at a fence post 30 yards distant, and squeezed the trigger. The post splintered. Holy hell, Jack breathed. Zarya lowered the rifle, meeting Cole's stunned gaze. My grandmother also said, never let them think you are weak. Surprise is a woman's best weapon. Cole's smile was slow, admiring, and edged with heat. Remind me never to make you angry. You could not, Zarya said softly. You see me, Cole Hartley, all of me, the healer, the fighter, the frightened woman, the brave one. How could I be angry with the first person who has ever done that? The look he gave her promised more than words could say. But the night ahead required vigilance, not passion. They separated reluctantly. Cole to organize the watch, Zarya to check her stores of medical supplies. If violence came, she would need to be ready. 3 days passed in tense waiting. The ranch hands stayed close, weapons always near at hand. Cole taught Zarya to handle his Colt revolver, his hands guiding hers, his breath warm against her ear as he murmured instructions. The intimacy of it was almost unbearable, his body aligned behind hers, his fingers correcting her grip, his voice praising each successful shot. You're a natural, he said, admiration clear in his tone. I am a survivor. She turned in the circle of his arms, the gun still warm in her hand. There is a difference. Cole's thumb traced her lower lip. You're both, and you're remarkable. They stood frozen in that moment, the prairie wind teasing her hair, the sun painting everything gold. Zarya wanted to memorize this, his face, his touch, the way he looked at her like she hung the moon and stars. If my father comes, she began. When he comes, Cole corrected. We'll face it together. That's what the word means, Zarya. Together. Not you protecting me, not me protecting you. Both of us, standing side by side. The words settled into her bones like a promise. Together. It was what she'd been missing her whole life. Partnership instead of possession. Respect instead of ownership. That night, Cole came to her room as darkness fell. No pretense of injury this time, just honest need. I can't sleep, he admitted, knowing you're so close, knowing what might be coming. Zarya pulled him inside, closing the door softly. Stay, not for propriety or caution, but because I need you here." They lay together in the narrow bed, fully clothed, wrapped in each other's arms. Cole's fingers traced idle patterns on her back, and Zarya pressed her ear to his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heart. "Tell me about your dreams," Cole murmured into her hair. "Not the nightmares, the other kind." Zarya closed her eyes, letting herself imagine impossible things. "I dream of a place where healing is respected, where people come not because they are desperate, but because they trust, where I can grow a garden of medicine plants and teach others what my grandmother taught me." Her voice dropped to a whisper, "Where I am not afraid." "You could have that here." Cole's arms tightened. "Build your garden. Teach anyone who'll listen. This land is harsh, but it's honest, and you'd never have to be afraid again." "You make it sound so simple." "Maybe it is." He tilted her face up, his eyes searching hers in the moonlight. "Stay, Zarya. Not because you're running, or because you have nowhere else to go. Stay because you want to, because this could be home." Home. The word ached with longing. "If I stay, my father will keep coming. He will make your life hell until—" "Let him try." Cole's voice carried absolute conviction. "I survived my mother dying, losing the only parent who ever loved me. I survived years of people looking at me like I was less than human because of her blood. I built this place from nothing with these scarred hands." He brought her palm to his lips, kissing the silvered burn scars. "Your father doesn't scare me. Losing you, that terrifies me." Zarya's eyes burned with unshed tears. "I love you," she breathed, the words escaping before she could stop them. "I think I started loving you the moment you refused my grandmother's necklace and offered me respect instead." Cole's smile was devastating. "Thank God, because I've been in love with you since you ordered me to drop my pants so you could treat my ribs. Thought I was losing my mind." She laughed, the sound watery but genuine. "That is a terrible moment to fall in love. It was perfect. You were bossy and competent and completely unafraid of me. Nobody treats me like a person first and a half-breed second." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the tip of her nose. "You see me, Zarya, the way I see you." They kissed slowly, thoroughly, a ceiling of promises spoken and unspoken. Cole's hands mapped her body over her clothes with reverent patience, and Zarya learned the planes of his chest, the ridges of old scars, the places that made his breath catch. They didn't go further. The time wasn't right, the threat too immediate, but the exploration felt like a vow. When they finally settled into sleep, tangled together, Zarya felt something shift inside her. For the first time since her grandmother's death, she wasn't just surviving. She was living. She was choosing joy despite the danger, love despite the fear. She was choosing herself and choosing Cole. They came at dawn, 3 days later, as Zarya was gathering herbs from the small garden she'd started beside the house. 6 riders, her father at their head, Vladimir Markov, still powerful despite his years, his face like carved stone. "Zarya!" His voice boomed across the ranch. "Enough of this foolishness. Come home." Cole materialized beside her, rifle in hand, his ranch hands spreading out in a defensive line. "She is home," Cole said flatly. "You're trespassing." Vladimir's eyes narrowed, taking in Cole's stance, the protective hand he placed on Zarya's shoulder. "You dare speak to me of my daughter? I dare speak to you about a free woman's right to choose her own path. Cole's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. She's not going with you. This is not your concern, Gadji. Vladimir spat the word like a curse. Romani business is her business, Zarya interrupted, stepping forward. Her heart hammered, but her voice held steady. I am not a child, father. I am a woman grown, with skills and knowledge. I will not marry Dmitri. I will not live under your roof. I choose this life. You choose shame. Vladimir's face purpled with rage. You disgrace our people by lying with this. Careful, Cole said softly, but there was death in his tone. Choose your next words very carefully. Vladimir's hand moved toward his gun, and chaos erupted. Cole's ranch hands had their weapons up in a heartbeat, but so did Vladimir's men. The standoff was instant and deadly. 7 guns pointed at 7 targets. This is madness, Zarya shouted, stepping between Cole and her father. Stop, all of you. Move aside, daughter, Vladimir growled. I will not warn you again. Then shoot me. Zarya spread her arms wide. Because I will not move, and I will not go with you. Vladimir's hand trembled on his pistol, fury and confusion warring across his face. You would throw away everything? Your heritage? Your blood? I throw away nothing. I add to it. Zarya's voice rang clear. Grandmother taught me that healing respects all people, that knowledge shared grows stronger, that love, real love, frees rather than binds. Tears streamed down her face, but her gaze never wavered. You taught me that might makes right, that women exist to serve men's pride. I reject that teaching. I choose grandmother's way. Your grandmother filled your head with poison, Vladimir snarled. My grandmother filled my head with wisdom. Zarya touched the pendant at her throat. And if you shoot me to enforce your pride, you prove I am right to leave. The moment stretched taut as a wire. Then, unexpectedly, one of Vladimir's men, an old friend of her grandmother's named Stefan, lowered his weapon. Vladimir, Stefan said quietly, the girl speaks truth. Maria would be proud of her. Maria is dead, Vladimir snapped. And this girl is? Her grandmother's heir, Stefan interrupted. Look at her, old friend. She stands without fear. She heals. She chooses honor over obligation. This is what Maria wanted for her. He holstered his pistol. I will not draw on Maria's granddaughter. Shoot me if you must, but I am done. Another rider lowered his weapon. Then another. Vladimir found himself alone, his support crumbling, his face twisted with something that might have been grief. You are no longer my daughter, he said hoarsely. The words should have hurt. Instead, Zarya felt only sad relief. Then I am free. Thank you, father, for releasing me. Vladimir jerked his horse around, spurring it away. His remaining men followed, Stefan pausing just long enough to nod respectfully at Zarya. When they were gone, Zarya's knees finally gave out. Cole caught her, holding her as great, shuddering sobs racked her body. Not grief, but release. Years of fear, of looking over her shoulder, of waiting for her father's judgment. Gone, finished. You did it, Cole murmured fiercely. You're free, Zarya, you're free. She clung to him, letting the tears come, letting the weight lift. Around them, the ranch hands quietly dispersed, giving them privacy. The sun climbed higher, warming the prairie, and Zarya felt like she was being born into a new life. Marry me, Cole said suddenly. Zarya pulled back, staring at him. What? Marry me. His gray eyes burned with intensity. "Not because you need protection or a place to stay. Marry me because I love you more than I thought possible. Because I want to build a life with you, plant that garden, fill this ranch with healing and laughter, and maybe someday children who know both their heritages are worth celebrating." "Cole," her voice broke, "I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other a few weeks. But when you've spent years alone, you recognize your match when you find them." He cupped her face in his scarred hands. "I see you, Zarya Markov. All of you. The healer and the fighter. The frightened woman and the brave one. The gypsy daughter and the medicine woman. I love every part. Marry me. Choose me the way I choose you." Zarya's heart felt too large for her chest. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, "Yes, 1,000 times yes." His kiss tasted like joy and tears and promise. Around them, the prairie grass swayed in the wind, and somewhere, a meadowlark sang. It felt like blessing. They married a week later, at sunset, on the rise overlooking the ranch. The local circuit preacher had raised his eyebrows at Cole's request to include both Christian and Romani blessings, but agreed when Zarya quoted scripture with perfect accuracy and Cole quietly reminded him that Jesus was a healer who honored all people. Zarya wore a simple white dress trimmed with colorful ribbons she'd stitched herself, a nod to Romani tradition mixed with frontier practicality. She wove wildflowers into her dark hair, their scent mixing with the sage-scented wind. Cole wore his best clothes, the scar on his face standing out proud against his sun-darkened skin, his eyes never leaving her face. The ranch hands stood witness, hats in hands, and to Zarya's shock, several townspeople arrived. People she'd treated, saved, healed. They came bearing gifts, preserves, quilts, seeds for her medicine garden. Silent acknowledgement that she belonged. "Do you, Cole Hartley, take this woman to be your wife?" the preacher asked. "I do. In this life and whatever comes after." Cole's voice didn't waver. "Together, together," Zarya echoed, slipping a simple gold band onto his finger, purchased with money she'd earned, not given. "I choose you, Cole Hartley. I choose this life, this land, this love." The kiss sealed it, and when they broke apart, the assembled crowd cheered. Jack produced a fiddle from somewhere, and someone else had a harmonica, and impromptu music filled the air. They danced as the sun set, as the stars emerged, as the prairie sang around them. Later, in the privacy of their room, now properly theirs in the main house, Cole and Zarya came together with the slow, reverent care of people who'd earned their joy. His hands mapped every scar, every curve, with worshipful attention. Her fingers traced his wounds, old and new, healing them with touch and presence. "Go slow," Zarya whispered as he moved over her. "It hurts." Cole stilled instantly, concern flooding his face. "We can stop." "No." She pulled him closer. "The good kind of hurt. The kind that means something is healing, growing. I trust you." "I'll die before I hurt you," he promised again, and then showed her with infinite patience what it meant to be loved rather than possessed, to be cherished rather than owned. Afterwards, wrapped in each other in quilts, Cole traced lazy patterns on her shoulder. "What are you thinking?" Zarya smiled against his chest. "That my grandmother was right. That true medicine treats all wounds, the ones you can see and the ones you cannot." She looked up at him. The gypsy woman healer treated his wounds. Yet every night, he healed the pain she never spoke of. That is us. "We heal each other?" "Every day," Cole agreed. for the rest of our lives." "Together," Zarya whispered. "Together," he confirmed, and sealed it with a kiss. 5 years later, Zarya stood in her garden, now sprawling and lush with medicinal plants from across the territory. Her hands, still scarred, now also dirt-stained, moved among the herbs with practiced ease. A small boy tumbled nearby, his dark hair and gray eyes marking him clearly as their son. A baby girl slept in a cradle on the porch, watched over by Miguel, now the ranch foreman, his limp barely noticeable. The Hartley Ranch had grown, not just in size, but in purpose. Zarya's reputation as a healer had spread, drawing people from across the territory. She taught anyone who asked, and slowly, a new generation of healers learned that medicine honored all traditions, all people. Cole emerged from the barn, dust on his clothes, satisfaction in his posture. At 39, he moved with the confidence of a man comfortable in his skin. He caught Zarya's eye across the yard and smiled. That private, intimate smile that still made her breath catch. "Mama!" Their son ran to her, holding up a praying mantis. "Look what I found!" "Very good, Alexei." Zarya examined the insect seriously. "What does the praying mantis teach us?" "Patience," Alexei recited, his mother's teaching. "And that small things can be powerful." "Smart boy." Cole ruffled his son's hair, then drew Zarya into his arms, their daughter waking and gurgling happily at her father's voice. "How is my wife today?" "Grateful," Zarya said simply, leaning into his embrace. "So very grateful." They stood together, their children between them, looking out over the land they'd built into home. In the distance, the prairie stretched endlessly, and the sky burned with sunset colors. Somewhere a coyote called, and the horses answered. This was healing, Zarya thought. Not the absence of scars, but the courage to let someone see them, touch them, love them. The Gypsy woman healer had treated his wounds, but together they'd healed each other's pain, the spoken and the unspoken, the visible and the hidden. Together, always together. Epilogue. 10 years after Zarya Hartley opened her doors to anyone seeking healing, the territory officially recognized her school of medicine, the first to teach both traditional frontier medicine and the herbal knowledge of multiple cultures. Students came from across the West, and Zarya taught them all the same lesson. True healing respects all people, all traditions, all paths to wellness. And sometimes, the greatest medicine is simply being seen, fully and completely, by someone who chooses to love all of you. Cole still carved in the evenings, though now he taught their children the art. Alexei showed promise, while their daughter Maria, named for Zarya's grandmother, preferred plants to wood. Their third child, a wild boy named Kit, seemed destined for ranching like his father. On the mantel sat 2 objects. Vladimir's letter, arrived 5 years earlier, stilted and formal, but acknowledging his daughter's accomplishments and requesting the honor of knowing his grandchildren. And beside it, Zarya's grandmother's silver pendant, now worn by young Maria, who showed signs of inheriting the healing gift. The Hartley Ranch had become legend, a place where wounded souls found sanctuary, where healing happened in all its forms, where a half-Kiowa rancher and a Romani healer proved that love and respect could overcome any prejudice. And every night, as the stars emerged over the prairie, Zarya and Cole found each other in the darkness, still healing each other's wounds, still choosing together, always together. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're enjoying this tale from. Are you listening at home, during your commute, or perhaps while working? Please subscribe to the From Wild West channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Zaria and Cole's journey? Your feedback means the world to us.